Hi everyone, it's Miss Lisa, the art teacher. Welcome back! Welcome back to my table of art. Welcome back to the new school year. This is September 2020 and it's going to be a good year. This is our new norm. We're learning art through a virtual monitor, computer, whatever you're viewing me from, but it's all virtual. And you know what? If that's what it takes to get art into your life, then here I am, and I'm going to be right there for you. So, what I'd like to do, first is let's talk to you for a little bit. How have you been? How is everything going? You know, the weather's changing. It's beautiful out. I hope you're enjoying this weather. Some of you, if you can just get outside and sit in the sun and let that sun bake on your face, pull out your sweaters, keep you cozy and warm. It's absolutely gorgeous out. I went apple picking because this is a great time of the year for the apples. They're at their best. So I picked some apples with my family. My kids came. My kids' friends came. We had a great time. My son's friend, he's in a wheelchair. No problem. The apple orchards are nice and flat. And when you go there, they give you these big long sticks to help you grab the apples from the tree. And they have almost like hands at the end of these sticks. So you hold your stick, and when you grab an apple, they clump onto the apple. I'll show you how, because I have some of my apples here from when I went apple picking. So if this is up in the tree and you have your stick, you pick that apple, you pull the lever, and it grabs the apple, and then you pull your stick down, and off of the branch comes a beautiful apple. So we had a great time. Weather was beautiful. But if you get a chance to go out, go enjoy. Because you know what's around the corner? Winter. And I hate the cold. So I'm enjoying the weather right now. So anyway, I don't know if any of you noticed or if your teachers have passed them out yet, but I sent everybody a sketchbook. I sent you a sketchbook because I want to focus on drawing skills at the beginning of this season. I want to make sure that you understand the building blocks of drawing and art making. And I just want to teach you some basic skills. So, if you'd like to get started, you're going to need a pencil. Doesn't have to be a fancy pencil. I have one here. Oh, here it is. I just have a plain old pencil. My eraser's almost gone, but it's still good. Make sure your pencil's sharpened. That's all I'm asking. And you have your sketchbook. What I'd like to do with this sketchbook is I'll give you some information, and I'd like you to write that in your sketchbook, because these building blocks that I'm going to teach you will stay with you throughout your life. They're basic skills that you need to know, basic information that you need to know to help make art and make it properly. Because believe it or not, there are rules to making art. We don't just sit down and go crazy. There's basic skills that we need to incorporate when we create art. But we're going to focus on drawing, elements and drawing. So let's get out our books and let's get started, okay? First, I want you to write at the top of your page, elements of art. And I'm going to write that for you so you can see the spelling. And I'm going to put it at the top of my book. So let me write elements. Does anybody know how many elements there are in art? Anybody? Did somebody say 7? If you said 7, you're 100% right. Elements of art. There are 7 elements of art. Okay, here's the spelling for you. You can write that down. And I'll wait for you to do that, because then we're going to list the 7 elements of art. Okay? And as we go through our drawing lesson, we're actually going to hit on quite a few of them, and you'll see how it works. So go ahead and write that down, and as you're writing that down, we're going to add the elements of art. Okay? All right. Our first element of art that we're going to write down is line. Line. And I'm going to put number 1, and I'm going to write the word line. L-I-N-E. There we go. Can you all see that? Okay? What is a line? A line is a mark that goes from one point to another. What kind of lines are there? Oh, there's all kinds of lines. There's straight lines, zigzag lines, curvy lines, looping lines. There's vertical lines and horizontal lines. A line could be a direction, up and down, side to side. A line could be a form of going around and around and around like a loop. But there are all kinds of lines, and we're going to go on to learn more about lines, but right now we're just listing our elements. Element number 2, shape. What is a shape? S-H-A-P-E, shape. Let me think. Shape. Well, a circle is a shape. A square is a shape. And a triangle is a shape. There's many shapes around us. There are organic shapes. Organic shapes don't have an actual distinctive form, like maybe a splatter of paint. That's an organic shape. It doesn't have an actual title of what shape it is, like a square or a circle may have. It's just a crazy organic shape. And we'll learn more about shapes as we go along. What do you think element number 3 could be? Element number 3, well, I'll tell you. Number 3 is color. Color, C-O-L-O-R, color. Some of us have done color wheels before. That's part of color theory. There's a whole theory behind color. Mixing and matching, complementary colors, intermediate colors, primary colors and secondary colors. What happens when we mix them, warm colors, cool colors, and we'll hit on that as well as we go along in the season. Okay? So that's element number 3, color. What would our world be like without color? Let's go on to number 4. The 4th element of art is value. Value is V-A-L-U-E. Value. What is value? Well, if we didn't have value, items would look pretty flat. Value gives us shape in a drawing, or the illusion of having shape. It starts from your lightest light to your darkest dark. So if I was starting on a value scale, let's give you a color, for example. If we were using red, my lightest red might almost be a white red. My darkest red might be almost a burgundy, which is super dark. Those are different values of red. And sometimes values are determined by the pressure that you use when you're using your pencil, when you draw very lightly, or when you press very hard and you press very, very hard and you get a darker image as opposed to a lighter image. If you're dealing with color, if you add white, you add to make a tint. If you add black, you're making a shade. Those are different values of the colors. And again, we'll learn about that as well. But I'm just going over the 7 elements first. What is our 5th element of art? The 5th element of art is texture. Texture. T-E-X-T-U-R-E. Texture is what we feel. Think about textures of things around you. Think about my sweater. This is a very soft feeling. It's texture. If I run my finger over the stones in my earring, it's more of a rough texture. If I feel my hair, it's kind of like a frizzy texture, because it's a little frizzy right now. What other textures? How about a burlap bag? That's very rough. Or sandpaper. That's very rough. Those are different textures. Or slime. That's a smooth, slimy texture. How about, what other textures can you think of? Let's think. I'm looking around me. Just look around and get ideas of different textures. The cement on the walkway, that's a very rough texture. How about a cactus? Ooh, that's a very pointy texture. That hurts. Don't ever touch a cactus. But you get the idea what texture is. It's another element of art. How about form? Number 6 is form. F-O-R-M. Can anybody guess what a form of element of art is? Now this one's a little different. If I was to create something that's three-dimensional, do we remember what three-dimensional is? Three-dimensional is something that we could see around. We could see above it and around it. It's not a two-dimensional that's flat. It's a three-dimensional form. So we can see around a form. Think of a statue. That's a form. Okay? And number 7, the last element of art, space. S-P-A-C-E. Now, do I mean outer space? Not really, but if I can show the illusion of being in outer space, then yes, I'm talking about outer space. So a way of showing space, an example might be if I threw a ball from here to the other side of the room. As the ball came closer to you on the other side of the room, it would get bigger. But when it was by me, starting point, it would be a small ball. And if I showed the size accelerating from my point A to you point B, from small to large, that's a way of showing the space in between us. Or we can do something in a landscape where everything in our foreground, which is in the front, is large. Everything in the background, which is furthest away, is small. That's another way to create the illusion of space. So these are our 7 elements of art. And I want you to keep them in this book forever and ever. Even if we sketch throughout the book, you save this book and you keep these elements with you. And we're going to add on more and more things as we go along. Let's go to page 2. And another thing about a sketchbook, you can use the back of the page. Don't be afraid to. What I'd like to start out with is shape. That's an element of art. Which element of art is that? Let's look at our list. Shape is number 2. But if you think about it, if I'm going to draw a shape, I need a line to create that shape. So we're using number 1 and number 2 to create a shape. Line is from point A to point B, and shape is a shape that we're going to draw. Ready? Let's open up to page 2, and let's start with one of the most simplest shapes, a circle. How do we draw it? Now when you're drawing, I don't want you to press hard. I want you to try to use a very light hand. Don't make it real hard. Don't worry about how it comes out. We're not here for perfect circles, perfect shapes. We're here to learn. So I want you to get rid of any anxieties about drawing, and I want you to relax, okay? I'm going to bring my screen down. I'm going to get my helping hand. See my helping hand? He also doubles as a back scratcher. Okay, and I'm going to bring this down so you can see my table. All right, now we want to start with a circle. So I want you to very lightly practice just moving your hand without touching the paper in this direction that a circle would be. And once you think you're ready, just gently put your hand and your pencil down to the paper. And I'm gently turning round and round to create my circle. And once I think I've got it, I'm going to try to make my circle a little bit darker, but not too dark. See? How does that look? Look at all the extra lines that I drew around my circle. I want you to do the same thing. Don't be afraid of just drawing over and over. This is how we learn, okay? So let's do that. Tongue twister. We've drawn our first shape. Now, below it, we have all this space. Let's try it by just one line. We're just doing the outline. Okay? May not be perfect. I may not have connected my line at the perfect spot. Can you see it? It's only an outline. When we draw just the outline of a shape, that is called a contour drawing. I would like for you to look around where you are right now. See if you can find something that's round and draw only the shape similar to a circle. For instance, if you see a clock, draw the shape of the clock. It might not be a perfect circle because sometimes there's things on the side of the clock or the top of the clock. If you see another object in the room that may not be round, try to draw just the outline of that shape. And don't worry about perfection once again. Okay? Now, I see something crazy over here. See this? I'm going to see if I can do that. But the secret about drawing this, I don't want you to lift your pencil off of the paper. Make it one continuous line. So it's important that you're actually looking at the shape of the object. You're not trying to draw it from a distance. You're looking at the shape of the object and you're just following it with one line. May come out looking like a crazy item, and that's okay. We're practicing looking, making our hands connect to our eyes, connect to our brain. Okay, so let's try. I'll give you 1 minute to do that, and I'll do this with my spray bottle, okay? Try not lifting your pencil off the paper. This is only a practice. This is a practice skill, and what's even better is if you don't even look at your paper. If you can do that, all the better. And remember to use a light hand. I don't want you to use a heavy hand. Okay? Do not worry about perfection. Remember, we're only doing the outline of the item. Do not worry about perfection. Nobody's judging you here. We're all learning. We're all learning and having fun. Okay? How you doing? I finished mine. Only one line. That's a contour drawing. This helps you understand how to view something that you are drawing. It's a way of connecting all your senses, your eyes, your brain, your hands, your touch, your movement, everything connecting. And you notice, when I make this shape, do you know what we call the inside part of this shape that we created? We call this positive space, okay? But when I create an image, I'm actually creating two images. And the negative space is just as important as this positive space, because that has created another shape. Look on the outside of my spray bottle. Look at the shapes that I created around the spray bottle. There's an artist, a Dutch artist, who's known for his black and white positive and negative images, graphic images that he creates, kind of plays tricks with your eyes. His name is Escher. I happen to have one of his images with me that I'd like to share with you. I'd also like you to write this on your next blank page. This is his name, M.C. Escher. He's a Dutch artist. He's known for black and white pictures that trick your eye, positive and negative space. So I'm going to leave this up for a couple minutes just so you could Write this down on your next free page, okay? I'll give you a couple minutes for that. And if you're at home, don't forget, you could pause this, write this down, and then turn it back on when you've finished writing this on a blank page. All right? Now let me show you one of his images. This is Escher's positive and negative black and white graphic print that he made. If you notice on the top, which is the positive shape on the top? Is it the white area or is it the black area? If you said it was the black area, you're correct. The birds on the top of this image are the positive area. The white that's created around him, the birds, is the negative area. And you don't really recognize the shape within until you actually look. And you could actually see what's in the negative space as we go down towards the bottom of the image. If you see, it's starting to form a fish. And now the fish has taken over the positive space of this image. The fish are now the positive shape and the birds are now the negative shape. And this is how the artist, Mr. Escher, tricks our eyes. It started out one way, but ended another. And it's also a way of forcing your eyes to see positive and negative space. Isn't that amazing? I think he's pretty good. What do you think? So, keeping with that, we've just reviewed positive and negative space, M.C. Escher, excellent artist. And how did your contour drawing come out? I really wish I could see them. This is the one thing I really don't like about virtual teaching. I don't get to see the results of how you're doing, or kind of critique how you're doing, let you know that you need to do this or that. Okay, so with that, we've learned what? We've learned that we can make a line, because we drew a line when we did our contour drawing, point A to point B. We didn't lift our pencils up, we kept them down. But a line could also be made by lifting up a pencil and starting again, because there's dashed lines, dash, dash, dash. It's a mark from point A to point B. We also created shapes because we made a circle. Even though we made circles with different lines, broken lines, but we kept going around and round. We didn't have to continually go around and around, but we created a shape. And what else did we form? Oh, what else did we do? We created a form. Not a three-dimensional form. We're going to do that later on. We created space. How did we create space? Well, we didn't, but Escher did. And he did that with his positive and negative space, showing us how important both positive and negative space are. All right? So let's continue on. Back to our circles. So we did a practice circle up on the top here. And we didn't have to worry about a perfect circle. We're just getting the feel of what it is to create a circle. Below, we made a circle without lifting our pencil off the paper. We practiced above, and then we did a contour drawing below. Now, what if I told you I wanted to make this circle look like it's more realistic? What would I have to do? Well, I think if I added value to this circle, that might help it come alive and start to create a form within the image. So how can I do that? Well, let's go back to our circle. I'm going to bring the screen down so you can see what I'm doing, okay? And here we go. All right, now, this is the circle we first started with, and this is the circle we're going to work with now. I want you to imagine that there's a sun right over here, a bright, sunny, shining sun, and all this sunshine is going directly onto this circle. But now imagine this circle is a ball, and if this is a ball, not every side of this circle is being hit by the light. Some of it is being blocked because it's a round circle and not a flat circle. Sort of like this apple. This apple is round. So if the sun is hitting right here, and you could actually see a highlight on the apple, then it's not hitting back here and you're seeing a shadow. How can I recreate that illusion on paper? We're going to do it with shading, using different values with our pencil. So if this is the furthest part away from the sun, this will be what? Will it be the darkest area or the lightest area? The sun is shining down and it's not hitting over here, so this is going to be pretty dark. So the value I'm using will be the darkest value, which means I'm using my pencil with a lot of pressure going down. And again, don't worry if it's not perfect. So we're just going to go back and forth with our pencil and get narrower and narrower as we go back and forth. We don't want to fill the entire thing right now. We're just getting the idea of the curves of the circle and how the shadow or the shade is hitting this side of the circle. Or in this case, an apple. Okay? You could actually see the shadow on this apple. Alrighty? And you could see the light shining on it. So now, if this is the lightest part, we really wouldn't put too much pencil mark here. But it still doesn't look like it's alive. It just looks like a flat circle with some shading on it. So we need to do a little bit more work to really make this come alive. So how about we add a shadow, which would come right from the bottom of the circle back out. Okay? It's almost lifting the circle off the table, showing you that it is something that's reflecting light and shadows behind it. Now, if the light's coming this way, your shadow might go in that direction. All right, that would work as well. I'm doing this upside down so it's not as easy. Can you see that? And if you wanted to put this on a table, we could actually make a line going across, and now it's actually sitting on a table. I'm going to turn this around so I could see how that looked. Okay, that makes sense. But I prefer my shadow going out to the side here, like this. So our shadow is going to be equally as dark closest to the ball and a little lighter as it goes out. Can you see how this has now come to life? If you put your pencil on the side, you can actually go back and forth, and you want to go with the curve of the circle. Go with the curve of the circle. Don't go back and forth like this because it kind of flattens it. Curve with the curve of the circle when you're making your shadow. As you get used to this and you learn how to create shadows and values, then you could start adding your own technique. And maybe a straight line will be one of them. But you need to learn a little bit more basic rules before you could start doing that. And it'll all come in time, I promise you. And I promise your drawing skills will improve by the end of this year. Okay? So here we have our first shape came to life just by using some value. And let's go in now because it's completely round and it may not be as dark over here. So we're pressing a little bit lighter than where we did at the bottom. And as we get closer to the point where the sun is hitting, it gets lighter and lighter. Okay? Till we have nothing here at all. You could even go back and erase if you made it too dark. Alright, boys and girls, how does that look to you? Does this look like a real ball sitting on a table? Or does it look like a flat image just sitting there and you don't think anything of it? How did yours come out? Does it look realistic? How did you do? I'm going to bring the screen up. Oh, that's my helping hand. Okay, so we first worked on a contour drawing. The contour drawing was just a continuous line of the shape, the outside shape. I did a spray bottle. I only did the outline of the shape. And I'd like you to practice doing that with other items in your home. Put them in your sketchbook. You could do little thumbnail sketches, which are smaller sketches where you might be able to fit 2, maybe 3 on one page. Or you can use the whole page. That's entirely up to you. If you ever run out of paper, then we'll just build our own sketchbooks. I'll show you how to do that later on when the time comes, okay? If we run out of paper. So we learned how to make a plain circle into an actual form of some kind, the illusion of a form, okay? Using the values light to dark, shadows, learning about how the light hits the image, creating shadows around it. And that's just a circle, all right? How about we move on to a square? Okay, so let's turn the page. I think I drew upside down, but that's okay. How could I make a square become a box? I'm going to bring this down so you can see again. Let's start with a simple square. Here is a square. Does not have to be a perfect square. And you know what? I'm going to make it dark so you can see it. But when you're drawing, I'd like you to use a light hand because it's easier for erasing and learning. Okay, so I have one square and I want to create another square exactly the same size, just as if I pushed it up from this spot to that spot. So I'm going to draw the exact same thing, just a little bit further up. Okay, see how I have the two squares, one behind the other. You see that? All right, now look at the exact same corners. This corner is the same as this corner. So let's connect those two corners with a line. There's line number 1. Sorry, I'm doing this upside down. This corner and this corner are exactly the same. So let's connect them. This corner and this corner are the same. So let's connect them. And the last one, this corner and this corner are exactly the same. So let's connect them. Whoops, I'm a little off, but that's because I'm upside down. All right, so this is starting to look more like a cube than just a square. But now I'd like to do what we did with the circle. Let's find a source of light and direct it down onto our cube and use our value to bring it to life. Okay? So you can pick any angle where you want the light to shine. I'm going to draw a sun up in the corner here. So the sun is coming down like this in this direction. See? So this is the furthest from the sunlight. So this will be my darkest value, this entire square. Okay? So I'm going to start that right now. I'm going to go right across because this entire square is not being hit with any form of light. So it's going to be pretty dark. And I'm going to color this in pretty fast. Because it's the furthest from my light source. Okay? The brightest area will be the top, which is where the light's shining in, and this will be a medium value because it is shining in, but it's not hitting every part of this side. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I'm putting 2 values on one side. Not sure if you could see. This is the darkest, this is medium. Now this could be either the top of the box, and if I want it to be the top, then I would erase this line right here and make it a cube. Or if I want it to stay as a box looking in, then I would leave it like that. But I'm going to use it as a cube and not a box just for today's lesson, okay? There you go. So we have 3 values in this cube. The darkest, a medium value, and the lightest value. Because our sun is shining right on top. This side is getting some light, but not as much as the top, and the back is getting no light at all. Pretty easy, huh? I told you you could draw. Everybody could draw. We just need some basic skills. So now, what I'd like you to do for this week while I'm preparing for next week's lesson, I'd like you to look around in your home, in your room, wherever you are, and I want you to start sketching using contour drawings first, items, and outlining their shapes. I also want you to practice making circles into balls and squares into cubes. And how are we going to do that? By adding some values that creates the shading and gives it a little bit of form. All right, makes it look like the illusion of being a 3-dimensional form. Okay? We're going to go slow because I really want you to learn, but we're going to have fun, so don't worry. So this is it for today. We'll pick this up again next week, but I want you to know we're going to touch on a lot of different drawing subjects. We're going to be doing still lifes. We're going to be doing portraits. I want you to do a lot of observational drawing. That's a good way of practicing. We're going to be using our imaginations to create drawings. We're going to have fun, and we're going to do a lot of good things. So, this is Miss Lisa, your art teacher, saying ciao for now, and I'll see you kids next week, okay? Remember to practice drawing. Practice doesn't have to be perfect, but practice makes it a lot better. And you can all walk out of this class as an artist that can draw. I promise you. Okay? All right, kids. See you next week. Be good. Bye-bye.